I do not own this motherfucking book. I wish. I mean, like, I didn't write this shit. That's what I'm saying. So if you're bored, you don't have a job like me, and you just want to drink and chill, step into the room and just relax. Grab a drink, crack it open, and let's enjoy. I will say, I do need to eat. I am hungry. I am hungry though, I ain't gonna lie. La vie en rose. Y'all know that song. This shit bothering me. Like, I want to put in a ponytail, but I don't, but I do. It's just... This is the third video of the motherfucking day, y'all. Chapter 1. I don't own this shit, nigga. Alright, no. Let's get another piece of pizza real quick. Ooh, ooh, ooh. When the moon is dry, like a big piece of pie at the morning. When the moon is dry, like a big piece of pie. My mouth hurts so bad. Not my teeth though. That's what my worry. Did you guys know that? Did you know it is a moray? My motherfucking neck hurt. Oh my god, my mouth. Door. For some reason I can't get drunk. What the hell? Back to my reading room. Am I the only person in the world, or am I just that uninteresting? I'm trying to get this shit off my neck. So I put my neck pillow on. I fell asleep with that shit on. I was sweaty when I woke up. Oh my god, yo. Do I look ridiculous? It's almost too hot for this. Am I frozen? No, I'm not. I just look ridiculous. Ooh, this thing's too hot. Oh, my neck just cracked. Okay, let's continue. What number beer we on? Number 3. Alright, we're on chapter 1. Finally. Chapter 1, Spanish Town. I was born. It happened one day when I least expected it, on an island measuring only 4,411 square miles. A teeming mountainous land of wood and water among a chain of islands in the center of the Caribbean Sea at the western edge of the Atlantic Ocean. That wondrous isle in the western seas. I came out of my mother's feet first. I arrived kicking and pissed off, sticky with fury soaked to the skin. I was what's known as a stargazing fetus as well, my neck fully extended. From the very beginning, I was going against the grain and making trouble. Perhaps I was holding on to my mother for dear life, somehow knowing what was about to happen next. I didn't want to leave the one place that I felt at home, where I'd been floating for so long, and enter the darkness. Inside, there was a light. Outside, instantly the unknown. The cord was cut. Startled by a strange newness, I didn't immediately take much of a noise, so I was slapped and slapped to prove that I was normal. Did anybody get slapped on their ass as a baby? Do you even remember? I feel like I remember before I was even born, for some reason. I don't. That sounds weird as hell. I cried out. I'll show you noise. I'll show you normal. I shrieked. In my own uprooted newborn way, I probably cursed. Here I am. Grace Beverly Jones. As was the custom, I would be known by my second name, Beverly, Bev. Later, when I was 4 or 5, my skin was so charcoal black that I would be engulfed when the warm, sultry night fell, throbbing with nature and the slithering hint of the supernatural. Damn, she got a way of writing. My nickname then was Firefly. You could only make out my eyes and teeth sparkling in the dark. Let me put my feet up or something like that. Oh. Well, where were we? My nickname then was Firefly. You could only make out my eyes and teeth sparkling in the dark. My new home outside my mother was Spanish Town. The oldest continually habituated, how you say that word? Habitated? Habituated? Habitated? Town in Jamaica. 550 years of history. Golly. Starting a few years after the island of Jamaica was first discovered by Christopher Columbus of Italy. I keep thinking like Christopher Columbus is Spanish for some reason. In charge of exploring and marauding Spaniards. As Santiago de la Vega, the town on the plains, at the edge of wetlands in the south of the island, it became the capital when the Spanish settled. They gave it a distinct Spanish colonial layout with lots of internal courtyards. That's how I want my house to look like. I want like a courtyard, like that Spanish style courtyard. And like I want a fountain coming out the middle. And walled gardens and a Renaissance influenced checkerboard of streets placed around a dramatic central plaza. Spanish interest in Jamaica waned when it became clear there was no gold, and it became a backwater of the Spanish Empire. Damn, I thought it was British. Okay. It became Spanish town in 1655 when the British conquered the island. They kept it as the administrative capital and introduced grand Georgian buildings, reflecting the growing empire's wealth and importance. Spanish Town was the Jamaican capital until the port of Kingston, better placed on the coast, 13 miles away with more natural vitality, replaced it in 1872. The town's cathedral, built in the early 16th century, rebuilt in 1725 as an Anglican church, was the first such building in this part of the world and remains the oldest whoa, what's this word, y'all? Ecclesiastical. Ecclesiastical structure from the British Empire. Let me put it together. Ecclesiastical structure from the British Empire still standing outside the UK. When I was born, Spanish Town had traces of grandeur, but was showing signs of neglect after centuries of colonial rule and the Great Depression in the 1930s. I didn't know Jamaica went through the Great Depression. Am I ignorant? I thought it was just an American thing. Imposed signs of methodical Spanish life, elegant town planning, and aristocrat British influences peeling back to reveal the undimmed Jamaica underneath. It had a faded glory, a shabby gentility, many parts of it cast aside as useless, and was beginning to meet up with the rough, tumbling edges of the capital city as Kingston's population grew. They say I'm a lot older than I actually am. We're on page 3. In the press, on the internet, they add about 4 years to my actual age. I'm often asked how old I am. The world likes to know a person's age for some reason, as if that number explains everything. I don't care at all. I like to keep the mystery. I get on stage and I tell everyone I'm 10 years older than they think, and then I hula hoop for 20 minutes. That's my age. That's how I measure it. I wasn't born wearing a watch, and I never got used to wearing one. And when I was born, I didn't know if it was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, and I never really know the days of the week now. Days are days, hours come and go, in whatever order, and I keep up with it in my own way. It's hard to remember things in the right order, but I will try. Time for me is an energy. I'm another energy, and the two energies wrap around each other. The present can seem as distant as the past, which can seem as close as the present. The most exciting thing is what happens next, even if it's already happened. Because I never say my age and rarely have to write it down, I roughly work it out by basing my life on historical landmarks. I mark time by what was happening in the world, rather than how old I was. I remember moving to America around the time President John F. Kennedy was assassinated. Before then, I was living in Jamaica, caged under a certain goddamn darkness. Even though there was so much sun and life, after Kennedy died, I was moving around like a gypsy, looking for light, for what happens next. Every birthday party I had after my teens, I always said I was 20-something. I know I was 30-something, maybe 40-something, but never really the exact age. I didn't grow older, I grew wiser. The world likes to know the age of someone, so I would often be asked. I am honestly never sure, so when it comes to work out how old I am, I take something important, like my son's age, and if he's 33 and I say was 29 when I had him, then I do the math. So if you ask me now how old I am, nothing comes to mind straight away. To some extent, it could be any number. Even then, I'm not entirely sure. It's not because I'm hiding my age, embarrassed or annoyed by it, but it's because it's something. But it is. I am hiding my age, embarrassed or annoyed by it, but because it is not something I keep to hand. It is not the most important thing about me. There are more important things about me than my age that will give you a better idea of who and what I am. I was born. Let's take it from there. I just know by looking at the first decade of my life was during the 1950s. The Second World War had finished. It was a few years before Jamaica would win its independence from the British. Many Jamaicans were traveling to the mother country, Britain, to find a new life, to find new opportunities. My parents were preparing to move north along the east coast of North America. My mother was Major Reed, born in 1930. My father was Robert Winston, born 6 years earlier. They already had 2 young children when I was born. My mother was extremely fertile, and there was no contraception at the time. 5 of the children born in a very quick succession. 1 year, 2 were born. Damn. How does that work? Oh, okay, I got it. Lots of juices were flowing. The children kept coming. Robert Patrick was the first boy. Later he would change his name to Christian, Chris. Then there was Norman Noel, known as Noel. Then back to front, me, Grace Beverly. After me, George Maxwell Max. Another girl followed, Yvonne Pamela, and then another girl, Janet Marie. Eventually there was a 4th son, Randy, born in America, not Jamaican at all, the baby of the family. When she married my dad, my mother was 16. By 22, she had 6 kids. Golly. Dang. Excuse me, Grace Jones. She was a Walters. Her grandmother's maiden name, my great-grandmother was Powell, and some in our family think the first African American to serve as Secretary of State, Colin Powell, might be a relation. They went to America to get away from her family as much as anything. My mom was definitely stifled by the world she grew up in. She was from a very religious family, among the first to open a Pentecostal church on the island. The very first Pentecostal church was opened in Spanish Town in 1933, 1 years after the first Pentecostal convention was held in Kingston. This was a missionary venture, the spreading of the word to those who felt estranged from some standard religion because they were too poor or too otherwise troubled. There was a zeal among the converts based on a determination to be heard and followed. Their evangelism was vigorous. Her uncle was a bishop in the church, Bishop Walters, tight-lipped with a bearing gaze. He was a dominating figure who made the church and its unforgiving belief system the center of the family's life. So I had a bishop granduncle whom I thought of growing up as the Bishop of Jamaica. You know what I thought about? Like, have you ever seen, what's that shit called? With the Hunchback of Notre Dame? And then they had, what's his name? Not Quasimodo. What's that nigga name? Not Quasimodo. It's that guy who was in the church, and he was just like, hellfire, hellfire. He had that weird-ass hat. That guy. That's who I'm thinking about right now. What was his name? It's not with a Q. I was about to say Quavo, like from the Migos. What's that nigga name? Now I gotta find out. I'm sorry. I remember Esmeralda, and then I remember that crazy ass nigga. Not crazy, but I remember that white guy. Why you don't listen to me read for a minute? What's that nigga name, y'all? La Vie en Rosa. That's not his name, though. What is it called? When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie. That's amore. Blah, 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 blah. What's his name? What was the villain in Hunchback of Notre Dame?
Okay, I found this on the web for what was the villain in Hunchback of Notre Dame. Check it out.
Judge Claude Frollo. That's his name, Frollo. And man, we had a little action figure of his ass. That nigga was scary as hell. He creeped me the fuck out. I can't really play this song on here, but you know what I'm talking about. That movie scared the hell out of me. I'm about to put the link in the chat. Hellfire! I ain't playing this shit. That shit sound cursed. Okay, I put the video in the chat of that nigga was crazy. That nigga, he was so pussy so goddamn bad. What was her name? Esmeralda, bitch. Shit. And then she wanted that blonde nigga. But then, what's his name? Quasimodo wanted to hit that. Esmeralda was a bad bitch. But, like, ain't no way the Hunchback was about to hit that. No way. No way in hell. But that blonde nigga was overrated as fuck. Like, he wasn't all that at all. Okay, let's go back. Oh, we're on page 4, y'all. No, we're on page 5. Okay. To some extent, his title was self-designated. He was a new, untested religion based on personal calling, its members making up its own rules, following other churches in their categories so that the leaders became bishops, because that gave them the authority they craved. The Anglicans had bishops, so too would the Pentecostalists. This was one of the attractions of this new religion, that ordinary working people in the lower middle class, who felt snubbed by the British and Europe-based churches and their elitism, could claim for themselves a superior religious standing. There were new opportunities for lay and ministerial leadership. I think I said that right. Which was very attractive. To climb the top of other religions from a lowly position would take a miracle. Here was a chance to form small communities that would be organized from within, often from within families instead of having to look to other countries and governments for leadership. There was a whole dynasty of bishops in my family. We are the Bishop Royal family of Jamaica. I am not sure where I fit into this, although to some extent I have about as just much right to call myself a bishop as my grand-uncle Bishop Walters did. Religion was a way for many Jamaicans to challenge the white-maintained status quo, from the 18th century slaves to 20th century Rastafarians. It was also a way for those less motivated to resist accepting things as they were. They have every church you can imagine in Jamaica. It is said that there are the largest number of churches per square mile there than any other country in the world. It seems like there's a church on every street corner, and some religions are more religious than others. How successful a church is depends on how charismatic your pastor is. I know that's right. Man, if you got a good person that can speak the word, that's what I'm talking about. It's all about aura. It's all about conviction. How deeply you believe. My granduncle Bishop Walters was an obsessive believer. Made religion his whole world and the world of everyone around him. He was in his own way a brilliant performer, and performing is at the heart of the Pentecostal appeal. Jamaicans could identify with that. It is in a society of physical performance. I keep getting distracted. But then again, I'm not reading this whole shit and get a goddamn copyright strike. Leave me a thumbs up in the motherfucker chat. Thumbs up in the motherfucker chat. Lovey and Rosa. Okay, it's getting too hot now. Oh my gosh. No, I don't think I cracked the top of that damn thing. I thought I broke the top of the washing machine by sitting on it. Wouldn't that be embarrassing? Should have been sitting my big ass on this little ass laundry machine though. I'm still on my weight loss journey. But at the same time, I really don't give a damn. I don't give a damn. And I think we're still on beer number 3. This is probably 3 or 4. Taking a quick intermission. Let me tell in the chat what page we're on. We're on page 6 of this book. So, again, grab your beer. And we got to take a water break. So, we're going to chug a water. I don't know. Should we chug a water every chapter? What's my battery life talking about? Ooh, I'm still good. I think I said page 6. Yep. Y'all, I wonder how my channel be doing. Damn, look at my analytics. It's hot as hell in this mug.
What's going on, guys?
This isn't easy to say.
Your mother and I think you're hooked on fine.
Oh, this vape. It's taking my... It's like, it's icy. Like, you know, when you buy those gums and then, like, it has, like, that icy taste. I wonder what the hell that really is. But my tablet got good charge, rolling on 87%. He had an illegitimate son before he joined the church, and he kicked him out because he didn't fit into his new life. The son grew up in England. We were good friends and I used to see him, but to the family it was though he never existed. That's fucked up. You could easily be cut out and be cut off. They take religion to an insane, intimidating extreme, using the Bible and God to create a world that they can run their own image. I hate that. Pentecostalism became my religion, as it had been for my mother, because that's what I grew up with. I think I had we call it United Methodist Church. I think that's what church is here, but Grandpa grew up Catholic. I'm looking at my finger because remember I stabbed it, so I don't think it's infected. It looks like it's healing pretty well. I had no choice. In our religion, according to my bishop granduncle, if you strayed, you would be thrown out into a terrible hellish exile. It's like Jehovah's Witness. They took the Bible literally. All those revamped Babylonian folktales. Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. If your right hand offends thee, cut it off. If members of your family do wrong, shun them, kick them out, ignore them. Quote unquote, all scripture is inspired by God, and it is useful for teaching, for refutation, for correction, and for training in righteousness. 2 Timothy 3:16. What was Stone Cold Steve Austin shit? Yo, I got distracted again. But you know what wrestling shit go hard? Let me look it up real quick. What's them niggas' name? I got Triple H, New World Order. I can't even play the damn theme song on here. I'm gonna play it for a few seconds.
Back for a limited time. Only at Zaxby's.
Ain't no way. No, not them niggas. What's his name? Triple H theme song. I'm trying to find the theme song with Triple H. What was it?
On sale, is this on? Yo, Jimmy, hit me with that Triple H. Yeah, you got the music.
I'm really trying to find this shit. I wish China wrote an autobiography before she passed though. China theme song. No.
Are you ready?
Oh yeah. And then Goldberg. Okay, that's all I'm gonna put on there. Oh, and I made a playlist called Book Commentary. And then the Goldberg one. Let me put this one in the chat. Goldberg, Goldberg. Now I'm getting distracted.
did tell my story, the whole world knew about it. We're still fighting for equality. We're still
Well,
fighting
I hope
for...
I didn't get no copyright strike. That shit was hard, nigga.
Charmin Ultra Soft is twice as absorbent, so you can use less.
Download the Domino's app today and become a piece of the Pie Rewards member to earn points toward free pizza.
Are you ready?
They think he can tell us what to do.
I can't play it, but I'll put it in the chat. Let's continue. The leaders of the religion, the bishops, the pastors, rule with fear with a rod of iron. Perhaps they justified it to themselves because in the Bible it says that you have to use a rod to correct a child. We had to read that passage out a lot, as though the fact we were saying it in our child voices made it definitive. My father's side of the family, the Joneses, were politicians and administrators. They brought the first books to Jamaica and started the library system on the island. His sister, Aunt Sybil, became the head librarian of the National Library of Jamaica in Kingston. My father was a very good-looking man and was very strong, mentally and physically. He was a keen amateur boxer and studied at the Dent Hill Agricultural College. Farming was a major source of employment in the area. Domestic and commercial crops included bananas, coconuts, pumpkins, peppers, and coffee. And there had been sugar plantations since the Spanish arrived, bringing sugar cane with them from Haiti. After the British arrived, the island was turned into one big sugar plantation. The world craved sugar. I know that's right. There was a lack of local labor, and new workers were desperately needed. Africans were found to be excellent workers, experienced with the land and used to laboring in a tropical climate. Thousands of them were shipped against their will. To keep the world sweet, Britain took sugar produced in Jamaica as another jewel in its crown, becoming the large slave trading country in the world. Did you know that Pirates of the Caribbean was also in Jamaica? The cultivation of sugar and organization of slavery were intimately tangled up. My father's family was strict in different ways from the religious way. Theirs was an army way. My grandfather on his side, his father, Arthur Patrick, born at the end of the 19th century, was a sergeant in the army during the First World War. When Britain entered the war, thousands of colonial men were enlisted in the British West Indies Regiment. They gave land in Jamaica to anyone who volunteered for the Great War. His land was in the cool, isolated shamrock green hills that seemed to hover under misty clouds up above Sligoville, a humble, laid-back village steeped in its own gentle rhymes. It was one of the first free village. It was the first free village in Jamaica, divided in 1835 after the Emancipation Act started to free slaves into small, hilly lots for ex-slaves to live in. Before then, the area had been a haven for escaping slaves, who had been stolen from the mountains in one land and now found sanctuary in the mountains of another. It was very near Pinnacle in St. Iago, the home of the first self-sustained Rastafarian settlement organized by the founding father of the movement, Leonard P. Howell. Landless Rastafarians would leave the spread eagle concrete jungle of Kingston and head for the hills. It was a place that yielded rich crops, including, of course, ganja. It is the spiritual home of the Rastas, seen to them as a sacred site. And you could say what became reggae and Bob Marley and the whole idea of one love began on top of that secluded rocky hilltop. There is something in the air up there and in the earth, and it remained mostly untouched by the Spanish and the British. It was too remote and hilly to build there. Even the Native American Tainos who occupied the land at the time of the Spanish arrival were situated near the coastline and adjacent to life-giving lowland rivers. My grandfather had a house in Sligoville among a few other houses strewn about that, from a distance, seem to be abandoned. There are plenty of dirt tracks that lead nowhere. There are acres of gentle sloping land, and the views to Kingston across the hills and the plains of St. Catherine are spectacular. The island beckons in all directions. It's a less familiar Jamaica for many, away from the heavenly shorelines and overexposed and protected tourist attractions. The Jones family still has some land there, quietly waiting for us, as if this serene, magical place between the rolling mountains and the wide sky is our destiny. Maybe one day I will think of this place at home. I'll walk barefoot in the grass alongside a river unmoved by time, letting things flow forward in whatever they like. That's how I feel about this small town I'm in. As a teenager, my father would have to climb up the hill from Spanish Town to his dad's house. 10 miles there and 10 miles back along a steep, winding road, by foot or on horseback. He would ride up with the horse and walk back, or the other way, walk up and ride the horse back. Once running an errand, he was late, and to make up time, he rode his horse very hard, as to not be punished. He made it on time, but the horse dropped dead. His father was absolutely furious with him and gave him a look that was so angry it stayed with him the rest of his life. I only saw Grandfather Jones on Sundays after church. We weren't allowed to be exposed to his way of thinking, which was far too free, according to the bishop, and therefore nefarious. He would have dinner with them, but it was always awkward. His stoicism and reserve were frightening to a young child. He very rarely smiled, and was probably incredibly uncomfortable with the circumstances he found himself in, with his grandchildren released for a few hours a week from God knew what. He was very disciplined, focused, stern, and incredibly determined, but was confounded by the rules and regulations of the Pentecostal church. It turned out I am a lot like him. I even looked like him, especially when I stared in a fierce, unforgiving way. Eventually, I became very good friends with him. Years later, when my father himself had become a bishop with his own church and followers, he would react whenever I looked at him in a certain way that indicated that I didn't agree with him about something. "Stop looking at me like my father," he would say, only half kidding. He could see my father's disapproval of his clothes and his lifestyle in my face. He could see so much of his dad in me and that fury when that horse died. It unnerved him. I tried to ride my horse too hard in Red Dead. My grandfather never stepped into his son's church until he was in his late 80s. And he died in his late 90s. He was very against my father for becoming a pastor. After he converted, they didn't speak for a long time. My dad did it anyway because he wanted out of his family, even if that meant joining the Pentecostal church. Jones's strictness was not religious like the Walters. Where's all this noise I hear? Okay, we entered in Walters, right? It was about being the best you could be. The best politician, the best banker, the best governor, and the best professional. It was about making a society better, or at least a better run place, rather than planning for otherworldly perfection using the Bible as a grotesque blueprint. My grandfather was very disappointed, to say the least, to see my father go into religion. He was as tough on all his children, demanding respect, and you could feel how they all hated him for it, for being so inflexible and demanding. One of his daughters never married. She was in love with someone, but her father chased him away. He was never satisfied with any of his children's choices, with whom they married. My dad was as stubborn as him, my dad was as stubborn as him, though, and a fighter, and he got his own way. Religion, as my mom experienced it growing up, was not what the Joneses wanted for my father. To such an educated, liberal family, the Pentecostal church, as it evolved in Jamaica from its extroverted America's southern roots, its urgency and lack of decorum, appealing especially to slaves, seemed a superstitious kind of religion. It came across more as a cult-like organization than the traditional religion. It was very much an influence on Jamaica from North America. I didn't know that. not from Britain, which meant it broke away from the overbearing colonial influence, but it had its own Jamaican take that was even a little informal compared to the American way. When it arrived on the island, if someone came to a local Pentecostal church barefoot, they'd be taken in, and the congregation would praise the Lord. By the time Bishop Walters was establishing rules, no one would be allowed in his church unless they were very formally dressed, and the sinners were barefoot. The saints were in their very best clothes, buttoned to the neck. My dad's father, though, despite or because of the dress code, it was an unstable, even unruly religion, and opposed the kind of enlightenment he favored, found in books and via learning. It did not seem traditional, conservative Christianity, definitely not in the hands of Bishop Walters, but it was a way of establishing an alternative community for people who felt ignored. Established churches in Jamaica dismissed this new arrival as a clap-happy church, and my dad's dad would definitely agree with that. Shamans, clapping to the beat, believing in divine healing. My father developed an adventurous, rebellious tendency because he felt oppressed by the Joneses' stubborn need for order and learning. He found it all too organized and authoritarian, and perversely, he had enough space within a relatively liberal upbringing to rebel against his father. The most hurtful rejection of his father he could think of was to head towards this alternative religion. This new fundamentalist but flamboyant church that had arrived from noisy, unrelenting America. Why we always get blamed for everything? I feel like not reading no more. It's just so many words. I'm taking a break. Let me at least finish chapter 1 though. Like how long we got? Jeez. Ow, my neck. Got a crook in my neck. God dang. Nope. Nope. We got 32 more pages? Nope. I'll read that on my own time. I'll probably be back. I don't feel like reading no more. My neck hurts.